So alongside the new a6700, the new APS-C camera from Sony, Sony have also announced a new lens today. It's the 70-200 f4 G lens. It's the Mark II version. We've had our hands on it. This is quite exciting because for most people, and we've actually done a whole video on this, the f4 version of these kinds of lenses are more than enough. For most situations, that's fantastic, and that's going to get you the exact kind of result that you want, but usually in a smaller, lighter, and cheaper setup. And that's certainly the case here. This is a G lens. You know, you're still getting fantastic optical quality and absolutely really lovely build quality. This is much smaller than even the original f4 lens. It's lighter as well. It's about 15% smaller, and you're looking at 794 grams versus 840. So it is noticeable in the hands. And of course, yes, this is an external zoom, so it does get longer as you zoom it, but it's great for fitting in a bag, for actually fitting other kit in as well. It's not going to take up a crazy amount of room. And actually, when you hear 15% smaller, it doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but really, when you use this and when you have it side by side with the old one, it feels more than that. It's quite significant, really. But let's talk about this lens. Let's talk about what it can do. Let's talk about the image quality. Let's get into it. Now, I've been using this for a few different types of things. A bit of wildlife photography, a little bit of landscape photography, just out and about. I didn't have great conditions, which is kind of fantastic, actually, because that means that I'm using an f4 lens, not in loads of light. I'm using it in slightly more sort of, not overcast, but cloudy. So it's not kind of perfect lighting, which is a great way to test a lens like this. The actual images from this, no surprise, look so good. It's so beautiful. Nice and sharp, nice and detailed. I love the resolution. The colors look fantastic. The bokeh looks really good. It's nice and smooth. Really happy with that. And then of course this has half macro capability as well. So you can get him pretty close to your subject. So here I've taken a photo of some bees that were kind of flying around getting pollen, I guess. And it's really quite incredible, not only how it's able to actually focus that close, but also the autofocus works so fast that actually photographing bees, which are moving around pretty quickly, was not that difficult. You've got optical image stabilization in the lens, which makes it easier to kind of track your subjects yourself. And it also means that you either don't have to use such a fast shutter speed, or if you wanted to shoot handheld video, you're going to be able to get some smoother shots. But that autofocus with 4XD linear motors is lightning fast. And it's shots like these that really highlighted that for me. When I was taking the shots of the squirrels, that's great, but for the most part, the squirrels weren't moving. But the bees, they were not the easiest subject to photograph, and this lens made it so much easier to do. And a big part of that is because of the speed of that autofocus. The lens is also able to suppress focus breathing, which is more important obviously in video, but that's a really useful thing to have in a lens like this. Now, I've mentioned image stabilization, but this is actually improved from the Mark I version of this lens. This makes a difference if you want to shoot, especially video handheld. For me, that's one of the biggest tests of optical image stabilization is handheld video. And absolutely, whether you want to film wildlife, sports, whatever it might be, this is absolutely a lens that I would feel very comfortable doing that with. So let's talk about the design of the lens itself. Now, like I mentioned, it's about 15% smaller. It's lighter as well than the Mark I version. The controls are all where you'd expect them to be. And of course, you've got that tripod mount as well, which is always useful on a lens like this. But in the hands, with even the a6700, which is a very small APS-C camera, it didn't feel ridiculously unbalanced, or it didn't feel crazy having a lens this big on a camera like that, because the lens just isn't as big as you might expect. Also worth mentioning, this is compatible with teleconverters, so you could absolutely take this up to 400mm on a full frame body if you wanted to, or even further on an APS-C body. But lenses like this I think are really exciting because it's very easy to get excited about a new f2.8 lens or a very fast aperture prime lens, but an f4 lens is such a workhorse of a lens, and for most people in most situations, it is just absolutely going to do the job for you. It's going to give you lovely images, and you're never going to be really that worried about the fact that it's f4 instead of f2.8. Obviously, the f2.8 G Master lens is a lovely, beautiful lens, but it's lenses like this that get me very excited, because this is a lens that could be used by a professional in a professional setting, or by an enthusiast going out to take wildlife photos, or someone who wants a really decent zoom lens like this. This is going to be so much more accessible than the 2.8 version. And because I think this is improved noticeably from the Mark I, this is just very exciting. You can check out this lens for yourself by following the link down in the description. There's a link to that. There's a new a6700 as well. I'll pop a link down there for that as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. There's new content all the time I will see you in the next video, but until then, as always, thanks for watching.